Okay, people, we're on part two of the Von Strider Brothers starter decks. This part will be for Leonhard Von Strider and his fairy tale theme build. Um, Again, just let me reiterate from part one. My plan with these starter decks is to introduce, new cards to the game as well as some new concepts. So when you see these starter decks, they there won't be you know cards in there that you have seen in the game already. You know what I mean? And like chances are, like it could be like one or two cards, but overall, most of the cards are new. You know, so let's get started. So first we'll start off with the monsters, and first I'll tell you which monsters I have in the deck. Then I'll tell you how many of each card I have, and then I'll just let you guys know like what type of strategies like this deck has. All right, so first off, with the monsters, we're gonna start off with Cinderella. Got Cinderella in here, and as you can see, it's a light fairy effect monster, level 4, attack 300, defense 600. Description: when this card is summoned, you can special summon one pumpkin carriage from your hand, deck, or graveyard. Then you can activate one glass slippers from your hand, deck, or graveyard. When a glass slipper is equipped to another monster is equipped to this card gains 1000 attack. So there we go right there. So moving on, the next monster is Pumpkin Carriage. And Pumpkin Carriage, it's a Earth Plant Effect monster, level 3, attack 0, defense 800. Description: while this card is face up on the field, Cinderella can attack your opponent directly. Next up, we have Hextrude. I believe that's how you pronounce it. If not, I don't give a damn. Hextrude. And a sexy lady. It's a fire spellcaster effect monster, level 7, attack 2600, defense 1800. Uh, Description: if this card destroys an opponent's monster by battle, it gains 400 attack. If this card is selected as an attack target by an opponent's monster, this card gains 200 attack during the damage step only. And next up we have Little Red Riding Hood. And Little Red Riding Hood is an Earth Fairy effect monster, level 3, attack 800, defense 1200. Description: when this card is destroyed by battle and sent to the graveyard, you can special summon one level 4 or lower warrior type monster from your deck. And after that, we have Iron Hans. And Iron Hans is an Earth Warrior effect monster, level 4, attack 1200, defense 800. Description: when this card is summoned, you can special summon one Iron Hans from your deck. And after him, we have Iron Knight. Iron Knight. And it's an Earth Warrior effect monster, level 4, attack 1700, defense 700. Description: while this card is face up Iron Hans on the field, while there is a face up Iron Hans on the field, this card loses 1000 attack. And after him, we have Forest Hunter. We have Forest Hunter. And you see right here, it's an Earth Warrior effect monster, level 3, attack 1200, defense 800. Description: when this card is normal summoned or special summoned, you can select one face up beast or beast warrior type monster on the field and remove it from play. And next up, we have Forest Wolf. Forest Wolf. And it's an Earth Beast Effect monster, level 3, attack 1800, defense 300. Description: if this card destroys an opponent's monster by battle, equip that monster to this card. When this card is destroyed, special summon all monsters equipped to this card by this effect to their owner's sides of the field. Um, Next up we have Tom Thumb, and he's no bigger than a man's thumb. It's an Earth Warrior effect monster, level 1, attack 300, defense 500. There's no description for it, but of course it's a normal monster, so it's pretty irrelevant. Uh, Next up we have Globber Monster. We have Globberman. Globberman, I said Globber Monster. Globberman. It's an Earth Warrior effect monster, level 8, attack 2600, defense 2000. Description: this card cannot be normal summoned or set. This card can only be special summoned with Giant's Training. Giant's Training. And last but not least, we have Thorn Princess. No, we have Thorn Princess. No, wait. I think this is the second to the last monster. My bad. It's an Earth Spellcaster effect monster, level 4, attack 400, defense 1200. Description: this card can only be normal. This card cannot be normal summoned or set. This card cannot be special summoned except with 100-year awakening. When this card is special summoned, select one monster your opponent controls and take control of it. And last but not least, where is it? Oh yeah, we have Glyph the Phantom Bird. Glyph the Phantom Bird, and it is a Wind Wing Beast effect monster, level 4, attack 1500, defense 1200. Description: when this card is summoned, you can select one spell, trap card your opponent controls and destroy it. This is one of those cards where I feel, well, like again, like what I did with, like some of the, like one or two of the cards that was in the Siegfried von Schreiter build, that I would change this effect to once per turn, because I feel like this is be one of those cards where, you know what I mean, like that effect can really get abused, and I just really want the, like I just really want the card to, like really be balanced or what have you. So I would change that to once per turn. Um, yeah. So moving on, and I believe that's all the monsters. Let me check my list. Yep, that's all the monsters. Uh, and moving on to the spells. First up, we have Curse of Thorns. And it's a continuous spell card. Description: select one effect monster in your opponent's graveyard and negate its effects. When that monster is removed from the graveyard, destroy this card. Next up, we have Giant's Training. Giant's Training, and it is a normal spell card. In the description: tribute one face-up Tom Thumb, special summon one Globberman from your hand, deck, or graveyard. And after that, we have Gingerbread House. Gingerbread House, and it is a continuous spell card. The description: during each of your standby phases, select one face-up monster your opponent controls and gain 600 attack. If a monster's attack becomes 25 or 100 or higher by this effect, destroy that monster and gain 500 life points. After that, we have Glass Slippers, and it is an equipped spell card. The description: when a Cinderella equipped when a Cinderella equipped with this card inflicts battle damage to your opponents by a direct attack, you can equip this card to a monster your opponent controls. While this card is equipped to a monster your opponent controls, the equipped monster loses 1,000 attack and cannot attack Cinderella as an attack, and cannot select Cinderella as an attack target. When that monster is destroyed, you can equip this card to a Cinderella you control. And after that, we have Iron Cage. Iron Cage. and it is a continuous spell card. And the description: select one monster on the field and destroy it. During your next standby phase, special summon that monster to its owner's side of the field and destroy this card. After that, we have 100-Year Awakening. 100-Year Awakening. And it's send one face-up Curse of Thorns card you control to the graveyard. Special summon one Thorn Princess from your hand, deck, or graveyard. And next we have Spinning Wheel Spindle. Spinning Wheel Spindle. It is a normal spell card. Description: destroy one monster your opponent controls after three of your turns have passed since this card is activated. Special summon that monster to your opponent's side of the field. And the last of the spells that I added to this starter deck is Water of Life. Normal spell card, and the description: select one monster in your graveyard and special summon it in face-up attack position. So that's it for the spells. And the traps, I have Mirror Force. Of course, Mirror Force, it's a normal trap card. And a description: when an opponent's monster declares an attack, destroy all attack position monsters your opponent controls. And we also have Negate Attack. You know, it's a counter trap and activate only when a target's when an opponent when I activate only when a target opponent's monster declares an attack. Negate the attack and end the battle phase. So that's it for the list of cards that I have in the Leon von Strider Fairy Tale themed starter deck. And next up, I'll tell you how many of each card I have in the deck. Alright, so now I'm going to tell you how many of each copy I have in the deck. Okay, I have 2 Cinderellas, 2 Pumpkin Carriages, 1 Hextrude, 3 Little Red Riding Hoods, 2 Iron Hans, 2 Iron Knights, 2 Forest Hunters, 3 Forest Wolves, 1 Tom Thumb, 1 Globberman, 1 Thorn Princess. I have 2 copies of Curse of Thorns, 1 Giant's Training, 2 Gingerbread Houses, 2 Glass Slippers, 3 Iron Cage, 1 100-Year Awakening, 2 Spinning Wheel Spindles. I have 2 Water of Life. I have 2 Glyph the Phantom Birds. I have 2 Mirror Force, and I have 1 Negate Attack. So the build isn't too trap heavy, you know. Like the way the build is being introduced, it's not too trap heavy. So that's like a dead giveaway. So now that I told you how many copies of each card I have in the build, now I'm gonna tell you, like just some of the strategies that this build has. Alright, so some of the card combinations and card strategies and the card combinations that you have in this build. First off, I'll just tell you about like one of the more simple ones that you would be using if you ran this build is the Pumpkin Carriage, Glass Slippers, and Cinderella card combo. Now with Cinderella, just with her alone, she can get the 2 cards that she needs in order to work, like to her maximum potential, just by summoning her on the field. As you can see, it's like when this card is summoned, you can special summon 1 Pumpkin Carriage from your hand, deck, or graveyard. Then you can activate 1 Glass Slippers from your hand, deck, or graveyard. When a Glass Slippers is equipped to another monster, is when equipped to another monster is equipped to this card. This card gains 1,000 attack, and yeah, so you equip her with glass slippers, and you know, with glass slippers, you know, when a Cinderella equipped with this card inflicts battle damage to your opponent by direct attack, you can equip this card to another monster your opponent controls. While this card is equipped to a monster your opponent controls, the equipped monster loses 1,000 attack and cannot attack Cinderella and cannot select Cinderella as an attack target. And when that monster is destroyed, you can equip this card to Cinderella. So when Cinderella uses this, she gains 1,000. But if you have uh, um, pumpkin carriage on the field, you know, Cinderella would be able to attack your opponent directly, thus activating the effects of Glass Slippers and Cinderella. You know, I mean, like what's, you know, like what when Glass Slippers is equipped to Cinderella, you know, her attack shoots up by 1,000, and you know she gets 1,300 attack. So with these three, you'll be able to hit your opponent directly with 1,300 attack, you know, each turn. And since I have two copies of that, you know, the best case scenario is that you will be able to hit your opponent for um, you know, for 2,600 every turn. You know, only by direct attack. Sorry about that. I was trying to adjust myself. So that's one of the strategies in the build. Now, first off, you know, first off, now next up, we have Little Red Riding Hood. Like, who is this build's um, uh, Searcher? You know, it's an Earth Fairy effect monster, and when this card is destroyed by battle and sent to the graveyard, you can special summon one level 4 lower warrior type monster from your deck. Now, this goes from Forest Hunter to Tom Thumb, Iron Hans, and Iron Knight as well. So, like that card's effect, it really just spans out between these other cards. You know, so you have Tom Thumb. You know, of course, I only have one copy of Tom Thumb in the build, and you know, like with Tom Thumb alone, you know, his only use would be to activate, you know, uh, um, Giant's training and get uh, um, Globberman out. So he's very linear in this build. Now we have Iron Hans, who is another ace, I believe you can call it. You can call him. You know, like when this card is summoned, you know, you can special summon one Iron Knight from your deck. Um, I have two copies of Iron Hans, and Iron Knight in the build. Uh, Pretty much for like a quick exceed summon, you know, because that's what like where we at in the game currently. You know, between Iron Knight and Iron Hans, you really won't have to worry about, you know, getting Iron Knight on the field too much unless you have him in your hand. But even then, you know, there's cards that are already in the game that can, you know, like put cards back into your deck. You know what I mean? Um, like Reload and Magical Mallet, uh, and you'll be able to, you know, use Iron Hans effect then, you know. But yeah, Iron Hans, of course, you know, like he'll be able to get Iron Knight out on the field. Um, and you know, like that's just one easy, quick, fast exceed summon right there. So, and with Iron Knight, you know, as its effect its effect states, like you don't want this card on the field, on at the same time as Iron Hans because it loses 1,000 attack, and you don't really want a monster on the field that has 700 attack, like face up on the field. I mean, of course, like you don't have to have it in attack position, but still, you know what I mean. But that's just one combination, for like one quick exceed summon. So moving on, we have Forest Hunter. Now for this one, I'm gonna go back to Forest Wolf. Now I have two Forest Hunters and I have three Forest Wolves. Now with Forest, now with Forest Wolf, it's a level three. It's a level three. Like attack 1,800, defense 300. Uh, like monster, and the description, tells you that when it destroys an opponent's monster, then it becomes an equip card for this monster, and then you'll be able to summon, you know, this, and like when this is normal summon, a special summon, like you'll be able to uh, like select one face up beast or beast warrior type monster on the field, most notably wolf, and you'll be able to destroy it, and like special summon all the monsters that were equipped to it back to your opponent's side of the field. And by doing that, then you'll be able to activate, say, something um, like bottomless trap hole or something like that, and you can banish all your monsters, all your opponent's monsters like that. See, that would be a good strategy right there. You know what I'm saying? Like that'll be a nice little trick. Um, but even with that, you don't really have to use it for that because this works up against the Fire Fist archetype pretty well. Because it banishes the monsters. It banishes them. So this will work great up against the Fire Fist archetype on its own. So it's pretty formidable. Um, of course, there's Globberman, but I already spoke on Globberman. I already spoke on Globberman. It can only be special summoned by using Giant's Training, which is the reason why I only have one copy of this in Tom Thumb and Giant's Training in the build. Uh, Going back to this, my bad. Didn't mean to do that. All right, we straight. Okay, and we have next up we have Glyph the Phantom Bird, and I had two copies of this. And again, as I stated, um, I was gonna change this to once per turn because I felt like in the near future, this card would have some ways of being like abused, and like you'll be able to wipe out your opponent's entire back row, and with that possibility, I just want to like balance this card out ahead of time. You know what I mean? But still, that's a pretty good card to have in here. And next up is Thorn Princess. Thorn Princess. Now, originally, I had two copies of Thorn Princess in this build, but I decided instead to change it to one. The reason for that is I feel like it takes like a lot in order to get it on the field, and I just wanted to introduce it, like in like an easier, like more timid way. I just didn't want to put too many of this in the build because it is a starter deck. You know what I mean? It's meant to introduce new things like this into the game, and I didn't want to, just put too much of it in there, so I only put one copy of it in there. On top of that, it does, like take a while to get on the field, and I didn't want to, have all those cards that it takes to get this monster on the field in the deck. And you can see the description. This card cannot be normal summoned or set. This card cannot be special summoned except with 100-year awakening. When this card is special summoned, you can select one monster your opponent controls and take control of it. So that is permanent control, which is good in its own right. So moving on to the spells, we have the Curse of Thorns, and I have two copies of this in the build. It's a continuous spell card, and it stops effect monsters' effects in the graveyard. And that's helpful for, even though like a lot of people don't think so, there's still some synchro monsters still being used that uses Level Eater, and that's one of the cards right there. Like just to say, um, you know, there are also some dragons that this will be used. That this can be, um, that this card can be used on, and what have you. So yeah, like I decided to put two of these in the build. Moving on, we have Giants Training. Of course, I got one Tom Thumb, I have one Globber Man, so it was only right to only put one Giants Training in there. And you tribute Tom Thumb on your side of the field, and you can special summon one Globber Man, of course, from wherever. Uh, Now with Gingerbread House. Now, originally I had this at one, but then as I, like started to think about it, I put two of them in there, just for the simple fact that the whole purpose of Gingerbread House is to overinflate your opponent's monster's attack until the monster is destroyed. Like you have to think of it like a balloon. Like it's only so much air that you can put into a balloon until it pops, right? So it's like the quicker the air gets into the balloon, then like the faster that it's likely to pop. And that's the whole theory behind this card. The quicker you're able to raise your opponent's attack, your opponent's monster's attack, then the faster you'll be able to get to it being like destroyed, and the faster you'll be able to get your life points gained. Um, uh, Next up, all right. So I already spoke on like glass slippers. Um, Iron Cage in its own self. Well, Iron Cage and Spinning Wheel Spindle. You know, these two cards are relatively the same because they both um, like destroy monsters on the field. But with the case of Iron Cage, you can destroy one monster on the field, and on your next standby phase, you can special summon that monster. Back on the field, like special summon that monster back on the field. So this will be a good way, say, for you to like gain like some type of field control on like on your opponent's side of the field, or like maybe it's a monster on your side of the field you that has an effect that you want to activate by destroying it, and like you'll still be able to get that card back on your side of the field. Like, you know what I mean? And of course, you can use this up on like Forest Wolf in order to activate its effect and still be able to get it back on, your side of the field. Like as opposed to using Hunter and like having that card banished. But with the case of Spinning Wheel Spindle, it can only be used on your opponent's monsters, and then after it activates, like you have to wait 3 turns, and then you have to special summon that monster back on to your opponent's side of the field. So this will be a good way to like just like get a monster on your opponent's side of the field like out the way really quick, and and I'm gonna get that last uh, attack, or just to move her out the way. You know what I mean? So yeah, so that's it with them two, and we have Water of Life, of course. It is a monster reborn for the monsters that are only in your graveyard. You know what I mean? So, so that's basically what it is, and I have 2 copies of this in there, 2 copies of Water of Life, and of course with like Mirror Force and Negate Attack. And those are pretty much the only 2 traps that I'm putting in the build. There wasn't really any traps I could really use. Like besides those 2, like from this deck list. So I just didn't, really bother with that too much. But yeah. Also, I feel like I should mention this. I did not use Seven Kids. Seven Kids, Gold Moon Coin, and the Golden Castle of Strongbird. Of Strongbird. Um, I don't think I spoke on 100 Year Awakening. I don't think I spoke on 100 Year Awakening. Let me see. But yeah, like someone face up Curse of Thorns you control to the graveyard to special summon one Thorn Princess from your hand deck or graveyard. This is the reason why I only put one Thorn Princess in there, because you need to have the Curse of Thorns on the field in order to activate this, in order to be able to summon Thorn Princess. And with the Curse of Thorns, that's a good card, all in itself. So I put 2 of those in there for reasons that are already spoke on. But yeah, since I only put one Thorn Princess in there, like in the starter deck, it was only necessary for me to only put one 100 Year Awakening in here. So that's it with that. So for the cards that I didn't put in the build, I would like to like put these in like a booster pack to introduce the cards like that in a booster pack. We have Seven Kids. It's a beast. It's a Earth Beast effect monster, level 3, attack 700, defense 700. The description: when this card is summoned, you can destroy one face-up beast type monster your opponent controls and inflict damage to your opponent equal to the attack of the destroyed monster. The reason why I didn't include this into the starter deck is because there's no guarantee that your opponent will be using, you know, any beast type monsters. Um, so yeah, I don't think that it would have been as effective as it could have been, like with the other cards that are in the starter deck. So I still think it's a good card. Of course, up against beast type monsters, you can use cards like DNA Surgery in order to change the monsters on the field to uh, beast type in order to use this card's effect, like a lot easier. But yeah, uh, I just felt like it wouldn't fit in, like with the rest of the cards that I had in the starter deck. So that's the reason why I didn't include it. With Gold Moon Coin, uh, it's a normal spell card. Description: add all the cards in your hand to your opponent's hand, then draw the same number of cards that you gave your opponent. I think that this could be taken advantage of in a crazy way. I don't like. I feel like I would change this to like something else, like add like a certain number of cards in your hand to your opponent's hand, then draw the same number of cards that you gave your opponent. Or I may do something else like, like discard all the cards in your hand and then draw the same number of cards that you discarded. But then again, like we already have that with like hand destruction. Or like maybe I would, like change it to something else. But I think the idea for the card is good. I just don't think that the current effect is, like good enough for like an official release. So I would, like change the effect of this card and then release it in a booster pack later on. And then we have Golden Castle of Stromberg. Now this card is up there with the uh the Seal of Ori Chalkos. In the sense that it's an completely, you know, overpowered, field spell that is ridiculous, and I believe this outshines the Seal of Ori Chalkos in many ways. Um, First off, look, let's just read the card as is. It's a field spell card. Description: during each of your standby phases, send half of the cards in your deck to the graveyard. If you cannot, destroy this card. Once per turn, during your main phase 1, special summon one random level 4 monster from your deck in face up attack position. You cannot normal summon monsters. All monsters special summoned by this card's effect and all monsters your opponent controls must attack if able. When an opponent's monster declares an attack, destroy that monster and inflict damage to your opponent equal to half that monster's attack. This card cannot be destroyed by the effects of spells, traps, or effect monsters. Your opponent must pay this card's maintenance. Obviously, this card is ridiculous. I mean, the only major drawback to the user would be that you can't normal summon monsters, but you can easily overcome that because this would be like one of those cards that you would use like in like the late game, and then you can use cards such as Water of Life. Um, Not to mention that you can still set cards, like you just can't normal summon. So like there really isn't any drawback with this card, in all honesty. And then on top of that, like the main thing is that your opponent must pay this card's maintenance. So your opponent will be getting rid of half of their deck, like before. My bad, didn't mean to click on that, but you would you would be like thinning your opponent's deck tremendously uh, during each of your standby phases. So this card is very, very cheap. This card will have to be rebalanced majorly. Uh, what I would change a lot with this card if it were to get released. I probably wouldn't even bother trying to release this card, but I don't know. Like with this, I just would leave this card alone for now, and maybe later I'll change the effect and I'll like just make another video letting you guys know like what exactly I changed in order to make this card playable. Because right now it's not playable at all. So yeah, that's everything for this starter deck for Leon von Schreider, um, or Leonhard von Schreider. My bad. And yeah, and I hope you guys enjoyed it. Again, the card list for like the monsters, spells, and traps or what have you. The entire deck list will be in the description. You guys can see it. I will have the link to this page where like you guys can see this. Um, and I know like like one or two of you have noticed that why is a trap card list underneath the spells? That's only because that it was used as a magic card, like in the anime, and then when it got turned into an actual card, it was turned into a trap card. So since these cards are anime only, like you know what I mean, they just put it under them the spell cards. So yeah, that's all. That's what all that's about. But yeah, that's everything. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Hope you guys like the starter deck idea. Again, like this is just fan made. Don't take this as if Konami said they were gonna make these cards or like make a starter deck. This is just something I was responding to from last year that I meant to do a lot earlier, but you know I had other things to handle, and it ended up getting pushed to the side. But yeah, that's everything. Hope you guys liked it, and I'll see you guys for the next Yu-Gi-Oh! 101 video. Peace.